that's the challenge. Now, what we're seeing in the markets is so far renewable energy financing there's a fair amount of domestic equity available. There's a fair amount of foreign equity coming in. But most of the debt financing has been from the banks. Commercial banks have been supporting a lot of the clean energy financing, and now they are reaching exposure limits. I think the RBI put out some reports recently saying that the exposure risk to the power sector, especially by commercial banks, is quite high. And just last week, the IMF put out a report sort of highlighting that when the banks have started to slow on this space, the NBFCs and the infrastructure financing corporations have stepped up. So think IREDA, think Power Finance Corporation, think other entities like that. Now, but they are now taking on a lot of this exposure, but they are still relying on bank borrowing. So indirectly, the bank's exposure to this sector is still pretty high. So what we really need to do is, because the scale of financing yield is so high, we need to diversify. We need to find ways to tap international debt markets. Large institutional investors, sovereign wealth funds, huge, giant philanthropies together are, managing over 80 to 90 trillion dollars of capital. Only about 2 to 5% of that is spent on renewable energy and clean energy, and a smaller fraction of that actually comes to emerging markets, including India. So how can we tap that? That's really the question that we have to ask ourselves, and that's really the big challenge. So let me